So the camera is fixed, there's a new Mad Max movie out right now. Oh, what a day. What a lovely day it is indeed. Hey everyone, it's Alexander Robinson. Welcome to the channel, and this is my review for Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, which is the 5th Mad Max movie overall, once again directed by George Miller, who's directed all of them, and serves as a prequel to 2015's Mad Max Fury Road. The movie follows a young Furiosa, who for the majority of it is played by Anya Taylor-Joy. The movie basically chronicles her life as a little girl being abducted from her homeland, having to see her mother get killed by the warlord Dementis, and how she became a part of Immortan Joe's crew as she tries to seek revenge for her abduction and the death of her mother. I feel like I'm one of the few people out there who has a slightly different opinion on Mad Max Fury Road than most people out there do, because I still think it's a really good movie. Like, in terms of an action film, it is damn near flawless and jaw-dropping, but I found the story and characters to be kind of nondescript, especially when it came to Tom Hardy's Max. And for the record, at the time, and even now, I have not seen the original trilogy of Mad Max movies with Mel Gibson. So at the time, after I saw Fury Road, I was very disappointed that Max was essentially a side character in his own movie. But then later on, when you read up on the production of this film, you realize that Tom Hardy was such a pain in the ass on set that there were days he just didn't want to do his lines, so George Miller ended up giving all the lines to Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron, and that kind of explains a lot about this movie. But despite the feelings that I had about this movie being very light on plot and character, I still found Fury Road to be a really good, really entertaining action movie. And the key word is had, because after seeing Furiosa, I have a newfound respect for Fury Road. And I'm not saying that in the sense that Furiosa is a bad movie. On the contrary, but watching Furiosa makes me look back on Fury Road and go, okay, I have a bigger idea of the context going into this movie. Like, I know what Furiosa's background is, I have more context of the Citadel and Immortan Joe. Like, I do understand that Fury Road, if you look between the lines, you can get a sense of that story, but it's enhanced thanks to Furiosa. But even then, just judging Furiosa as its own movie, it's damn good. Like, it may be, I don't know, it may be the best prequel out there, at least that I can think of. It basically takes a lot of the elements that made Fury Road such a great action movie, but for me, worked on a better level because it's a revenge story. Since this is basically an origin story for the character Furiosa, I found it easier to get hooked on the movie. I was more engaged in the story than I was in Fury Road at the time, and I just found this to be the superior movie in terms of that context. And Anya Taylor-Joy is fantastic as Furiosa. I really bought into her character and really believed that, yeah, this character would end up becoming the one that we see in Fury Road. And she does a pretty good job at not only embodying what Charlize Theron brought to this character, but also making it her own. Admittedly, she doesn't have a lot of dialogue in this movie, and I think it was reported that Anya Taylor-Joy had like 36 lines overall in a 2.5-hour movie. But it honestly doesn't matter because Furiosa's facial expressions and her actions say it all. Like, the physical performance says much more than words could ever. But the one thing that actually surprised me is that George Miller basically pulled a Richard Donner. If you remember in the original Superman movie, we don't see Christopher Reeve as Superman until at least an hour into the movie. That's what George Miller does with Anya Taylor-Joy. I think this takes up the first 45 minutes of the movie, but in that time we follow Furiosa as a little girl, as a child, played by Alyla Browne, who is really good as well. And I thought, wow, this is taking us a long time to actually get to the lead actress playing the main character, but I'm all for it. Because in that first 45 minutes, we're also introduced to Chris Hemsworth as Dementis, the villain of the movie, and he is wildly entertaining. He's got a prosthetic nose that's very noticeable. He's funny, but he's also kind of an intimidating villain, and very different from Immortan Joe when you really compare the two. Chris Hemsworth overall makes for a really good villain that you come to understand by the end of the movie, when he basically lays out the things that he's done and why. You're like, okay, that makes sense. I mean, it's the apocalypse. So I think anybody in the middle of a desert wasteland would be driven to do some terrible things, and that's just how he responded to it. I don't condone it, but I understand it at the very least. Now, when it comes to the action scenes, they are just as great, just as heart-pounding, and will put you on the edge of your seat the same way that Fury Road's action scenes do. I'm not gonna say this movie tops Fury Road in terms of the action, because that movie just has so many holy shit moments and so many iconic shots that this movie had an impossible task when it came to the action scenes. But George Miller and the crew made for some really entertaining action scenes regardless. I was on the edge of my seat through them, and there were some new elements that we didn't see in Fury Road. So there's never a minute of this movie where I found myself to be bored, though I will admit, 2.5 hours is probably a little too long for this movie because it's not as tight as Fury Road was. Now, Fury Road was essentially a back and forth car chase, but it was slick. It didn't really waste any time, and it was a clean 2 hours. But the runtime of Furiosa is a very small complaint, all things considered, because I actually like this more than I did Fury Road. But at the same time, this movie really made me want to go back and watch Fury Road with the full context of this movie. So I will say worth seeing in your lifetime. I'm not going to go quite that far and say get off your ass and go see it right now, although on a second rewatch, I might. But for right now, it's really good, really entertaining, and it's my favorite of the two Mad Max movies that I've seen. If you're looking for the better action movie in terms of the sequences that just make your jaw drop, then Fury Road's the way to go. But if you want a more story-focused movie and one that really focuses on the characters, then I think Furiosa is the better movie. However, before I end the review, I will say this. If you go see Furiosa, but you have not seen Fury Road, first of all, you'll be fine because this is a prequel, but the second the credits start rolling, leave. Just leave immediately after the movie ends and as soon as Directed by George Miller comes up. I won't say why, but trust me on that. Don't even look at the screen when you walk out of the theater. Just look down at the floor, leave the theater, and immediately pop in Fury Road. Trust me on that. But overall, yeah, this is a great movie. I think this actually beat Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes as my favorite movie of the year so far, and I just love it. And there you go, that's my review for Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Now before I go, I do have a small announcement to make. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been making modifications to my channel, and I now have added YouTube memberships. This is basically the YouTube exclusive version of Patreon. And if you really enjoy my channel and you want to help support it even more, you can sign up for YouTube membership. Right now, I only have one tier, but you get a ton of perks with more on the way for just the single perk that I have right now. And I'll make another video about this, a separate video explaining it in further detail. So if you see the join button on my channel or in the description below, go ahead, check it out, see what's offered. And I want to, again, thank you guys for being subscribed and supporting this channel. But for now, I want to know what you guys think about Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Whatever your opinions are, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button to get notifications. If you want to help support the channel even more, you can do so through YouTube memberships. And also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, and my theme park and travel channel right here on YouTube. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day and take care of yourselves.